You cannot paddle in a Premier division at 70 years old.
Where did your journey begin with dragon boating?
I'd seen dragon boating and I thought, that's a lovely sport.
Today we're joined by someone who has played a huge role in shaping the global breast cancer paddling community.
When I joined, there was the capacity to paddle in the Club Crew Championships.
She's an international advocate, a true community builder,
It's about the people that you touch, the people that you meet.
and a leading voice for paddlers around the world.
For a lot of these people, this could be their last adventure. Let's make it special.
And I love what these women bring to the world and to our sport.
If you genuinely love dragon boating, there are two things you should do.
Right.
You should
Paddles ready. This is Paddles Ready, the global voice of paddle sports. Live commentary, race coverage, athlete stories and expert analysis from across the world of paddling. From dragon boat racing to ocean ski, this is where the competition, the culture and the stories come together. Let's get into it. Dougie.
Hando, how are you, mate?
Whew, a bit tired.
Yeah, well, the Oz Champs. I thought I'd do a bit of an Oz Champs wrap-up and have a bit of a chat about a couple
Wow.
things and what we saw and who's who and who specifically won gold medals. Now, before we start, I've noticed you got something on your knee there.
Oh,
And I believe you picked up 2 golds.
oh, we did. The old fella with Typhoon. Typhoon did 5 golds.
Yeah.
But I myself, you'll see a couple of these
How
little ones
good.
that I put up. Beautiful.
What did you win?
beautiful
What did you win
medals.
those in?
That was the senior. So we won the senior mixed 2000.
Yep.
Typhoon, and then the senior and the women won the 2000 senior A women, and then the senior B men. So the over 50s.
The over 50s.
Went round in 2000, fighting it out with Komodo.
Really?
Like, you're talking about a wrap up. So let's just unpack that a little bit. I think it's the largest Oz Champs
in
you know,
history.
yeah. We were talking to Peter Campos,
Yep.
the president of Australian Dragon Boating, and Mr. Luo was down from China, and
Yep.
some great guests with the eye dotting, the ceremony. But the wrap up, the teams.
It was awesome. I did the eye dotting. I went down there and
Yes.
watched it. Had the minister there, Jared Blay, and who is also the, I think Dan Purvey was there as well.
Right.
I think Dan's the
Paulie,
police
was it?
minister. I think he might be the police. But so the boys came down. Jared gives a lot of time to that Kiwana Regatta. I know he came down and opened the States up for Blair. And he was there at the Aussie. So, great guy, really giving some time to the Dragon Boating Federation and the sport.
It was phenomenal. Like, over the 6 days, over 8,000 competitors. Sometimes on a day there was 1,800 competing on the one day, from
That's right, yeah.
juniors, from your schools, from Skulls to Canberra Grammar to the team, the Black Jag, I think the Perth teams.
Yeah.
We'll probably mention.
Well, we saw
a
South
few of
Australia. You were having a chat with the guys
The
from
Power Blades,
South Australia.
Sharon Etherington from the Power Blades.
So
was there.
77 teams, I think, we had.
A lot of paddlers.
77 teams. So a couple shout-outs just before we get going on a few things. Nowra, they came up and saw us and said g'day.
Dave and Chicky from Mako.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, Chicky.
The girls.
They're a machine. They won gold.
Yeah.
So many different teams won gold. We saw Akka, different strokes. And what about the Wairo 100 Waters from New Zealand, Doug?
Yeah, I know. How big
Wow.
are they?
They came over.
How big are
and
they?
they just dominated. There was a race
Yep.
in the 2000. They got, because it was carnage,
Yep.
they got swept up. They got stopped. It must have been a minute. They got back up going and still won.
And still won. We saw someone go overboard, I think on the Sunday.
The Akka sweep went overboard.
Yep, saw that happen.
The Sonics, the kids, the youth sport was amazing. Was amazing.
For me, I had one race, and it was a heat.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it was a heat, but it was the Premier Mixed Standard Boat, and it was ACCA, and it was Sunny Coast, I believe.
Was that the one where they broke like 2 minutes?
1:59.85. Hang on, I've got my notes here. Yeah, 1:59.85.
That was a great score. Bryce and Robbie were calling that night. We chatted to them, and they're on the My Sport Live.
Yep.
They were fantastic. So you're talking about a wrap-up. They did an amazing wrap-up as well. So 1:59.
It was a heat.
Oh, that was the heat.
It's 1:50 and they're breaking 2 minutes.
Well, the Typhoon girls in the girls, that's the fastest time in 5 years. The 200-metre women's.
They were red hot, weren't they?
They were ACCA in different strokes going
down. They
down.
were red hot. That was. I watched that race. I remember. I think you were down in scrutineering or down there where they load the boats up.
Yeah,
and I watched them.
Marshalling. They did marshal well. So the Oz champs were good. But yeah, the largest Oz champs in history. From Mel and Lachlan were telling us.
Yeah, I noticed. I used the word. It's a small boat chaos. The small boats were unreal. I just loved it.
That's in the 2000s. Yeah. They as you said, when you're coming into the turn, the corner, and in the afternoon, what did you hit?
Well, you're hitting the wind, but you're also hitting the sun when you're doing that left-hand turn. So a lot of them were cutting inside and missing the buoy,
and then
just purely because they were blinded.
Yeah, but also 4 boats coming up to the one corner, and you have to get right away.
Yep.
And then I'd come round. I remember because I was in the last race of the day. I was down. It's similar to Jaden from Coomera because the headwind.
Yeah,
and that picked up 2 seconds.
Yeah, that wind was blowing there at one stage, and you're watching all the sweeps get right down low. And but I just wanted to make a stand out of that the ACCA race. It was great.
Yeah, and the Flames I think were in a lot of it, and Sunshine Coast. They dominated the small boat. And also the big boat mix. They won a lot of gold. So did so many different clubs. And then the breast cancer division, they were there as well. Meri and Normie.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to club cruise. They won a couple of golds.
Did they really?
Redcliffe? The Redcliffe winner?
Redcliffe were up there. They showed some dominance as well.
Yeah.
Kiwana, obviously, and thank you to Kiwana for hosting.
Thank you to Kiwana and Queensland Dragon Boat Association. But yeah, the Australian AusDBF did a fantastic job with all the sponsors, the merchandise, the food.
Yep. There's another race there, the seniors, the Broadwater Dragons versus the Brisbane River Dragons.
All right.
It was I think BRD got the gold. It was in the 500.
Right.
That was another standout for me on top of that one with ACCA. But all in all, it was great week.
And seeing the university teams, Doug?
Canberra Grammar, as you just said, University of Queensland.
Versus the University of
They
Victoria,
showed some really, I think it was Victoria.
Right.
That University of Queensland team, I'm not too sure. I don't think they've been around for too long. I may be wrong there. But they were strong.
Yeah.
Nice. They're a young team. Got a young bloke on the back there, steering, sweeping. They participated as hard as anyone else. And obviously we've come to know and synonymous is with Sonic. So the youth of the sport it's safe.
Well, you'd hope to be. And I don't know where the next national titles are. I think they did the handover, and I think it's going to West Lakes in South Australia.
Well, that's where we went in 2006.
A bit earlier than that, I think.
Was it? Yeah, I can't remember.
Possibly. But they've had some world titles down there as well.
To wrap it up, they were my standouts. Obviously, your standout was winning a couple gold and watching your club really show some dominance this year.
Yeah, look, Typhoon.
You've been building it. You've basically
Tomo and Renee and Nicole and all of it. So from premiers right through to senior Bs.
Yeah.
The club's just grown,
and you were a club that was, you had your paddlers, but now you're a force.
Yeah, and it was great, and it was great seeing all the clubs.
Yep.
And they now earn the right to participate in the next club cruise, not this one coming up this year, but in 2 years' time, in 2028, wherever that will be.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic to build upon as well. So Congratulations, OzDBF.
Congratulations to the people of Kawana and Sunshine Coast, because you put on a beautiful regatta.
Oh.
It is a most...
And how was the weather?
the weather
As soon as it finished, the rain finished the whole next week.
Yeah.
But you had...
But the location, the facilities...
It was
it's
on TV,
world-class.
Live Sport Live, My Sport Live.
was
The coverage was fantastic.
Yep. And
Well, that's a wrap. I'm
it
Hando.
was awesome. I'm Dougie. And Paddle's ready. All righty, Nico. We spoke about it, and you have delivered our first guest appearance, and today you have gone with royalty. So much so, Hando, I'm putting on the glasses because I do not want to muck this up. I don't want to do it again, because this person and this lady gets all the accolades she deserves. Today we're joined by someone who has played a huge role in shaping the global breast cancer paddling community. As president of the International Breast Cancer Paddlers Commission Global, she's an international advocate, a true community builder, and a leading voice for paddlers around the world. It's mine and Hando's pleasure to welcome Meri Gibson. Welcome, Meri.
Thank you, Dougie, and thank you, Nick, for allowing me to be here. What a great honour it is. I'm super excited to be on this podcast with you, because I know this is something that you're really passionate about. And in terms of sharing our stories and sharing the knowledge and letting people know what dragon boating is all about from every single aspect.
Oh, and on the drive down over here, it's literally that voice that Paddles Ready has created. So we'll go right into it, Meri. I suppose, Doug,
I know you're itching for some questions.
You're the question man. But I've known Meri for a while. Club cruise in Ravenna. We just found out that we paddled in the same event, the 2016 Club Cruise in Adelaide, where we were both sort of poster people on magazines. But we'll go there. We'll talk about that. But let's delve into what you're doing with breast cancer and women and powerful sports, paddling in general. Where did your journey begin with dragon boating?
Well, I could sit here all day and talk to you about that, but I'll try and condense it down into a shorter version. So I had known dragon boating for a long time. I used to travel to Asia on business every year, 3 or 4 times a year. So I would be in Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, Japan, Korea, all of those places. And so I'd seen dragon boating and I thought, that's a lovely sport for other people. I had no interest in being involved. I loved the sound of the drums on Victoria Harbour and thought, that looks really cool. I knew about the sport in New Zealand, and I knew that it was predominantly a sport for corporates. Yep. So as team building and all of those things. Again, not really interested, even though I was in the corporate world. So it came about that in about late 2005, early 2006, a friend of mine contacted me and she asked me if I would mentor her sister, who had been diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, I had been diagnosed 6 years earlier in 2000, wanted absolutely nothing to do with anybody that had anything to do with cancer. Do not darken my door.
Yes, that's it.
Right. And so I reluctantly said, yes, I would. She said, because you're so positive and you're really vibrant and here you are living a great life, 6 years later. So I said, okay, sure. And so that's how it started. I was involved in mentoring her. I knew that she dragon boated, but I still had no connection. And unfortunately, her breast cancer metastasized in the brain and she passed away in August of 2006. I was at the funeral, and here were these women wearing black with pink boas, dropping feathers like worse than a molting mower everywhere. And I'm excited.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were noisy and vibrant. And I'm like, wow, what is that about? And I said to someone, who are those women over there, those noisy women over there? And they said, they're the breast cancer dragon boaters. Something must have clicked. I don't know if it was grief. I don't know if it was the joy. I don't know if it's the pink, as you can probably tell. I love
you
pink.
are in pink. You're pretty
pink.
in pink.
I love pink and always have. have. And so I asked them if they were having an open day, and they said yes, and the open day was in November. I went along and I thought, oh, this is interesting. The coach said, you look strong, you're in the powerhouse, sit in the middle, top hand drive. And that was about all the coaching I got. And then in the following March, we had the South Island Championships and the National Championships. And breast cancer dragon boating was quite new. There were the third team was only just developing at that time. And we won gold. So I'm
Now you're
slightly,
hooked.
I'm competitive. I'm competitive. So I was hooked. That was really the start of my dragon boat journey. There's a lot more to it, but that's how it started.
And how did you then go from a paddler thing, then getting yourself on all these boards now that you're on? You're an advocate. You speak everywhere around the world. You've just off a plane from Singapore. You're down here at Kawana. You've come down here to be with us 2 hours south, a drive. How did you go to that next level? And was it something that you were, I guess, pushed into, or did you say, I can make this better and I can be a voice for everybody here worldwide?
Yeah, Dougie, this is another 2-day story,
Yep.
but I'll condense it down
Sure.
really quickly.
We should have filmed in the car. It was really condensed. It was good.
So what happened was that the people that ran the sport in Christchurch decided they wanted to sell their boats and leave the sport. And a number of our team members went along and attended the conversation about that. And they, these are old boats, like clunky old things. And they came back and they said, oh, this is what they're doing. And I come from a corporate world, business advisory, management consultancy. So I sat on a number of boards, private and not-for-profit at that time. So I knew how things worked. And I said, oh, no, they're doing it all wrong. They need to do it this way. And someone said, you need to go to that meeting. I went, not interested. I am not interested in the least. And so they came back from the second meeting and I'm like, oh, God, this is going to hell in a handbasket here. And I said, no, it's all wrong. It's all wrong. You better go, Mary, and attend this meeting. So I did, and it was me and all these guys, and they said, we like you. We think you should be involved.
I was about to say, it's like that Kiwi saying, Nick Minute.
And so we established the Aoraki Dragon Boat Association, which was, and we set up a charitable trust or a not-for-profit, as we call them back then, and basically applied for funding, got 100K, bought boats, so we were on a roll. And the following year, in 2008, we reconstituted the New Zealand Dragon Boat Association because it had been run on the same festival profit model to become a national sports organisation. So I was the first chair of Aoraki, and and it's a 10-year term. Every year I tried to get myself sidelined, but it didn't happen. So I did the 10 years. And the same thing with the New Zealand body. I did the 10 years plus another 3 secondments of 2 years each.
So you've seen it. You've seen the growth of the sport on all different levels.
I have. And then my journey into the international arena followed that.
Yeah, got you. Nick, I was going to ask Mary, so to date, since you took the reins over and you've driven the sport, the breast cancer, the whole box and dice, how many members do you have globally?
Wow.
Oh, well, yeah. So when I stepped into the role of president, so I was vice president first. We have a 4-year congress every year, so I became VP after 5 minutes and then president 4 years later. And so since 2018, where we had probably 19 countries and around 180 teams, we're now sitting at 42 countries and 403 teams, and probably
how's your maths done?
and we think that it's pretty hard to determine, but we think we're over 20,000 members globally.
Really?
One of the things we will be doing with IBCPC is actually gathering that data more meaningfully. Because at the moment it's a little bit of a guess, but it's based on what we know.
And Doug, we had the privilege in Brandenburg in Germany.
100%.
We were commentating, and then we were on the foreshores right there, and we had many different guests. But when Mary came on, when we had the breast cancer category, and Mary, you can sort of elaborate that a bit more. It's the first time in in I suppose the history that you've had your own category in a Worlds. Mm-hmm. We had Meri commentating, and we were talking about it before. When you've got two commentators in there, and then you saw the screen light up with the interaction, people waking up from all around the world saying, "Meri, you might remember me. I was here." And then you're typing, we're doing it, but then also calling the races.
Yep.
And the knowledge and the power
of
that.
I think that's where we became a team, the three of us.
That's where it was a paddles ready team.
Paddles ready team. It was it's the first time I'd met Meri before. We clicked. The three of us just clicked, and then yours and my passion for the breast cancer paddlers. Every now and again, I'm a big sook. I am seen with a bit of a glaze over my eye because the stories of what get me. The resilience of these ladies is what gets me. Even now I'm starting to just get a bit thing in the throat. They're amazing. They're passionate. They're stronger than any bloody brown bear sitting up in the top of bloody Canada. And I love it. I love watching it. I love commentating it. And I love what these women bring to the world and to our sport.
Oh, and the powerful. So with that, let's talk about your events because the IDBF events, the club crews, you've always been able to participate. Talk a bit about how it evolved to one from your own events, which get 4,000-5,000 athletes, to how you lobbied or the committee in Brandenburg and it elevated on the world stage against the world's best pink paddlers, as you call over there.
Okay, so that's an interesting story. When I joined IBCPC, and we were a very young organisation, we only developed in our first congress was 2010 in Peterborough in Canada. Wow. So we're very young, and we've grown exponentially very, very quickly. When I joined, there was the capacity to paddle in the club crew championships because it was like, put them over there. It was kind of like put them over there. Yep. And so club crews suited us because teams who wanted to be competitive could actually enter into that realm. My first club crew was 2016, but
where we paddled together. And you were on the book of that cover. We saw that, Meri.
I know, and the cover, not quite Rolling Stone cover, but hey.
We'll keep it there.
But really the leaders in this driving the competitive element, and you have to come back and remember that IBCPC and breast cancer dragon boating is 100% from a premise of participation. That is first and foremost where we come from. But what we've come to recognise, and that's possibly some of us who are more competitive, but right across the spectrum what we're seeing now is people want that pathway, and they want that pathway to competition. So we have to create the whole spectrum, right from participation through to elite athlete. And that's the surprising thing that you find is that a lot of these survivors, and we call them thrivers, not survivors, want to be elite athletes. So, as I said, that ability to paddle at club crews was there, but very few people went. Robust led the charge from Canada, and they've been to every club cruise. And then my team, Abreast of Life, Miss A Bit of Titty from your neck of the woods in Brisbane.
And Miss A Bit of Titty, what was the president there that you work closely with in Miss A Bit of Titty?
Joe Parry was the vice president before I became the vice president. So anyway, we had that pathway, but not many teams went. And then when they started to see those of us competing, suddenly the category started to get bigger and bigger. And then these teams are saying, why aren't we at the World Nations? Why aren't we competing at the World Nations? What's wrong with us? Why should... So it started a campaign, of lobbying for that. And it was relatively easy, I say that, to get it across the line. Because it was I'm trying to remember, I think Ravenna that we finally got approval. So that was only 20...
I think you told me in Ravenna that you'd had the Congress and the pathway for these breast cancer survivors. But they are athletes. These paddlers are phenomenal. And then when you said it brought a tear to your eye, when we commentated, and I think there was some American and Canadian that came up because we were so welcoming when you were commentating, and it's so heartfelt.
Oh, it is.
And that. And all the nations were there. I think, most of the nations were there. I think Australia was probably, they weren't there at Brandenburg. However, we've just seen them. They're a massive participation here with the breast cancer paddlers, aren't they, with Australia?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to that because one of the things that we made it very open. It was open to everybody, but it was probably a tight window. So it was approved in Ravenna. That was July 2024 to be included in Brandenburg 2025, so a year later, and it was considered a trial. Try and get it off the agenda now would be a brave person because it was so well supported. But so some countries just couldn't really get it together in time, and others jumped really quickly on the opportunity. We were absolutely thrilled because I'm just thinking to myself, 3 teams make a category, 3 teams make a category. Please let there be 3 nations there. Well, we had 7 and 8 in each, standard boat and the small boat. And it was fabulous to see. And to see that competition on the water was incredible. But off the water, the camaraderie
Even better.
was amazing. Yep. And that's something that we really love, is that tightness that comes. You will have seen photos and images and videos of all the breast cancer teams that were in Brandenburg in the photos, hugging and carrying on. And I think, to your point, Australia were probably, they'd already announced their teams, their categories when it came time. And so, for us from New Zealand, it was disappointing. Probably your top countries are New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the USA are really at that top level, with a surprise from Italy. In Brandenburg. And so it was a bit disappointing not to see Australia there. And I know the breast cancer paddlers were disappointed. And someone said to me, how does that feel to you? And I said, that's really a question you need to talk about to the nations. It's not up to us to comment.
Yes. Yep.
And they said, but how do you personally feel? And I said, it's a bit like attending a wedding without your favourite sister there. Because particularly for New Zealand and Australia and MBT, for instance, those teams had always been at the club cruise.
Miss a Bitty Titty, my son's friend Ollie Thistleton, his grandma was Miss a Bitty Titty, and she was at the club cruise, and she's like, oh my goodness, like because they're a powerful. I was hoping to see her in Brandenburg as well. But you're talking about, just Dougie, back on intergenerational. It's cross continents.
Yeah.
That when you put these events on, with what we're living in the world today, with all different, forget the cancer issue, the big C, but with everything else happening, these events that IDBF put on, but that you put on, it's for all these people to come together, and it's exactly what we saw in Brandenburg.
Yeah,
off the water.
Yeah, and I didn't quite answer that question about the festivals that we as IBCPC organise. So basically, our first one as IBCPC was Peterborough 2010, I think 65 teams or something like that. And then the next one was 2014 in Sarasota, a festival on steroids because it's in the US.
Yes.
And then we were in Italy after that, and then New Zealand, and it was meant to be 2022, but 23 because of COVID.
And Italy where? Was that Ravenna?
No, it was Florence on the Arno River.
Wow.
And so each location is really unique and special for different reasons. Canada, I remember the fire trucks being painted pink, a dog being painted pink, the people on the street, amazing. Sarasota, as I said, on steroids, the numbers, the organisation, everything. Florence, you
Watch
can't
out for the crocodile alligators.
Yeah, the alligator. Florence, you can't compete with because you're in a city that is thousands of years old, that you're in the Salon de Cinquecento, the Hall of the 500 for your Congress, looking up at these beautiful paintings on the ceiling. New Zealand, you get this, this incredible friendship that we have, the nature, the beauty. So everywhere is different. This year we'll be in France, and
But one thing you can say, Meri, as far as locations go, we don't do things in halves.
No.
And
and it's really important to us to be around the globe because, as I said, we're in 42 countries.
Yep.
So to have that global representation is very important. And France this year will be our biggest festival, and we're only
How many
limited-
participants?
4,500. But
Wow.
we're limited.
It's a mini Olympics.
We're limited by the site capacity. We could have had more.
Right.
It's
Acla
sold
Spain,
out.
that's in, isn't it? The north of France.
Sorry,
Acla-
Aix-les-Bains.
Aix-les-Bains.
Your French
Sorry,
is good,
Aix-les-Bains. Well, it's in the north of France. I
Je
found
ne
that.
sais pas.
Yeah, and just south of Switzerland. So there
That's
you go, Nick.
correct. Yeah, fly into Geneva.
Fly into
and
Geneva,
then
that's right, and then come
to
down.
Annecy. Annecy is the closest big city.
Well, you
And
never
then,
know.
yeah.
One of us could be there, Mary. You never know.
You never know.
Doug
You
could
never
do
know.
a famous
But
fly
just quickly,
in.
Nick, and this is something, Mary, you and I and Nick were talking about on a conference call the other day. You were saying 4,000 paddlers, but you could have taken 6,000, 7,000.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
that the event where it is not big enough.
Yeah, the capacity is it's very limited by the regional council in terms of where the village will be.
Yep.
It's a health and safety issue. We absolutely, I can't even go to 4,501. It's
Really?
just
So
not
it's
allowed.
basically
Not
first in, best
allowed.
dressed.
But
Yeah.
Doug, listen to this. The committee, they don't have to pay too much to get there to participate, do they, Mary? And you think about the amazing ability, what they're doing to get there.
Yep.
The cost for them when they have an entry fee, you should see what they get.
Yeah,
Tell me a bit about that.
Well, like New Zealand was $530 and per person, and then we discounted $580, I think, back to $530 if you got the early bird, and then the New Zealand dollars, that is, so not worth a lot today.
Yep.
And then the France is €395, and the 500 early birds get that discounted
Yes.
by €50. So what you get is this. So IBCPC gets a very small levy out of that, very small.
Yes.
And we're very open about it. All of our accounts are on our website. Nothing is hidden. Everything. We run on the smell of an oily rag. That's a Kiwi and New
Always
and
for the
Australian.
always you're just growing
Yeah.
the sport for the
Yeah,
paddlers.
Yeah, yeah, it's totally for the paddlers. So what you get your entry, you get your training, you get transport to and from the venue for whatever is on those days. You get 2 days of racing, you get a T-shirt, you get a goodie bag full of lots of goodies, you get the street parade, you get the welcoming event, which you'll get a drink and food.
A champagne
Food
or
and all
two.
that.
Maybe
Yeah.
in New Zealand we had alcohol and food, and you get food. Lunches on both days of racing. You get a closing party. Every single participant gets a medal.
Wow.
You are able to attend the Congress, and you are provided transport to every single thing that you are attending.
Yep.
So it's not about making money. In fact, we always worry because when we award the bid to whichever country, we're like, thanks, see you later, and hope like heck that they break even at best, that they don't lose money, because IBCPC does not have the funds to support it. We simply do not have the money. And when we walk away and go, thank God that's not us, we don't have the financial burden. But as I said, the levy that we achieve is so small.
But you have to do that.
It's all about the paddlers.
All by
It's
yeah.
all, and if you think about, if you go to a conference, a 2 or 3 day conference, you're paying $1,000, $1,500, and all you're doing is sitting on a seat listening to a speaker.
Yeah, 100%.
And the camaraderie, but the connections that people make at these events on and off the water leads to lifelong friendships, stories, probably business opportunities,
Fitness.
places to stay.
Mental health. I think the mental health
Yeah.
in your, in the breast cancer, it must be such a great opportunity for these women who have, mate, let's just call it how it is. It's been a bloody tough, journey for families, the ladies themselves. The mental health stimulation of paddling a dragon boat and having your mates around you side by side in a boat or next to it at a function, it must be huge.
I look, again, I could tell you 100 stories, but I want to just tell you a couple from New Zealand, if you don't mind. Just indulge me for a few minutes. And we had lots of issues with the weather. Lake Karapiro is usually calm. We run our national championships there. And I'm thinking, this will be great. Well, we had all the weather, the fog in the morning, but watching the swans coming out of the fog was incredible. And then the wind got up. So we had to cancel a number of races. We had to bring a lot of things onto land we were pivoting literally in the moment, in the moment. So we had the flower ceremony, which would always be on the water. We had it on the land. And we usually that consists of 6 boats from the Sandy Smith Global Finale, 6 boats from the Grand Final, so that's 12. And then we take another 6 boats out, which will be your VIPs, your paddlers who perhaps aren't able to paddle. But this year we also wanted to honour our metastatic paddlers. Let's be really frank, they are terminal.
Yes.
And this could be their last adventure. So we had a boat for metastatics. And they were standing in the middle of the area where we were running the on-land flower ceremony. So one side we had those who were Sandy Smith, the other side who were in the finale, and then further boats on the front, and then our metastatics. And someone said to me, why are they standing there? And I said, they're metastatic. And I said, why is that person standing there? And it was a person from my team. And I said, you do realise she's metastatic. And they went, I never knew. And to see them and to see these women standing there being so brave and so strong. And then, we went through the ceremony process and everyone has a flower. And the idea was that you would then go to the lake's edge and put your flower in the water. And one of the metastatics, some of them were very young, and that's always, that rips at your heart. And there was a young woman, and I saw her, I thought she'd collapsed to the ground. And I went up to her and I said to her, are you okay? And she said, yes, I'm just overcome with emotion. And she told me that she had stopped her chemo to come to this event because it was so important to her, 35 years old.
Holy smokes.
And I said, I will stand with you. I want to stand with you if that's okay. She said, yes, please. I said, is it okay if I hug you? Oh, absolutely. And then I said, can I walk to the water's edge with you? And she said, yes, please do. So we walked to the water's edge. And then I said to her, I really want you to have this moment to yourself, and this is about you, this is not about me. If it's okay, I will walk away. She said, yes, that's okay, I'm okay now. So she stood at the water's edge and she put her flower in the water, and then you walk away and other things happen. And a few months later, her family contacted me to say that she was dying. And would it be okay, because it was so important, everything that had happened at the festival, would it be okay if they read the poem that a friend of mine had written and I had used it at the festival at her funeral?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yes, of course that would be okay. And she subsequently passed, and her family contacted me and said, we don't know if you realise how important every single thing that you did was to her. And she left this world feeling incredibly happy and joyous because she'd met you, she'd been at the festival, you'd stood with her, you'd let us read the and I'm just like, oh my gosh,
oh my God.
Meri Gibson, National Breast Cancer Paddlers Commission.
Wow.
Wow. And that's just one story I can tell you. There are so many. But I think what is really important is that we share those stories. And they're not about sadness, they're actually about joy. They're about people being really happy. And as I, like at the moment, you're aware that I'm going around doing the site visits for 2030. And I say this to people. For a lot of these people, this could be their last adventure. Let's make it special. Let's make it really special. And guys, don't sit there feeling sad, because it's actually joyous. And you're bringing incredible joy. And you're really, it's. I sometimes think to myself, I have to step back because it's actually really hard at times, to witness these things and to be so close to them. But then you say, it's not about me.
Yeah, gotcha.
Well, this is the most, I think you talked about happy and tuning in with our listeners. This is why Paddle's Ready.
This is why we've done it.
This is why Mary's going to have a monthly segment.
But Mary, we've got plenty to talk about, but I just wanted to touch on Mary, and this is a happy part of, and I want you to explain it. I said, all the work you have done, all the lives you have changed, your story just then, down on the lake, I called you royalty in my introduction, but due to all this hard work over the last decade and more, you actually got to meet royalty, and you were awarded, I heard, something very, very special by one of our, who now is the king. Can you tell us what your medal was and what this award was?
Yeah.
And who it was by?
Yeah. So some very kind people from that I know through paddling nominated me for an award in the King's Birthday Honours. And a bit of a surprise. So I was awarded an Officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit, which is,
it's up there.
Wow. It's up there a wee bit, for services to dragon boating and to breast cancer awareness. So it was actually two elements. And what I loved about that was they didn't just loop it together. It was about the work you've done with dragon boating and promoting and growing the sport, but also breast cancer awareness. And so, very, very special. So King's Birthday Honours.
That's what it was.
In 2024.
That's
June
awesome.
2024. So, very, very excited about that. A couple of people said, we really thought you should have been a dame, and
well deserved.
And so that's the first time anyone in New Zealand has ever been awarded anything for dragon boating. I don't know about breast cancer, but certainly for dragon boating. And so, and I actually got a Lifetime Achievement Award from Sport Canterbury a few years earlier, and I'm so there's a few things. So it's not about the awards,
No.
and I always said I'd retire when I had 100 medals. Well, I've got 100. They're just things.
Yes.
For me, it's about the people that you touch, the people that you meet, you guys, everybody that I meet, that I have conversations with, that is so willing to talk to you, to hear your story. Well, not so much my story, but when I say your story about dragon boating, about breast cancer.
And Doug, you just reminded me something typical, Brian, but the 100, I think a few weeks ago, and also we saw them at the Club Crew, the Waido 100 Warriors or
100 Waters.
100 Waters.
Yep.
They're about that. They were actually over in Kawana at the recent titles, and they did quite well.
Very, very well. In fact, I said to them on the first day that because they were competing in the state competitions, and they were, pretty much blitzing everything. And when their women's crews are very strong. I really believe women are driving dragon boating. It's the women that are making these crews
That's
strong.
where we were leading. It's not. You've got the breast cancer paddlers, which are women. But it's these powerful women, and you saw the
I just saw that
women as well.
I saw that at the Australian titles
And
the other week. It's so unbelievable.
Talk about.
And I said to them, now you're just showing off, when they were winning by over a boat length in the races. And it's lovely when I can be there and put the medals around their necks and
commentate for them as well.
Well, not in this instance, not at Auschamps, but certainly as we did in Brandenburg, which was super exciting because I had no idea. You guys are just like, oh, come and commentate, Mary. And then I can't help myself, you know.
But that was good.
But the upcoming Club Crew Worlds in Taiwan. There's lots of different opportunities. Doug, what's up next?
What's up next? Well, we're going to do Mary's Hot Take. Mary's going to have a go. You're having the week off.
Oh, Hando's
hand out. And we're doing
out.
Mary's Hot Take. So we're coming back to you in a minute. Okay, we're here today. We're down at the Aussie Titles and we caught up with the Brisbane Typhoon boys, and I am speaking with
Paul Langley.
With Langers. So this is 60 Seconds with Dougie. Langers, you're from the Brisbane Typhoon. Worst excuse you've ever heard for someone not turning up to training?
The wife made him wash the floors.
Downwind or grind?
Oh, mate, I love downwinds.
Early morning training or sleep-ins?
4:30 starts. Puts a beautiful edge on the day.
What's more important, fitness or technique?
Technique, fitness will come.
Carbon fibre or wooden paddle?
Oh, mate, love the carbons.
Coffee before or after training?
Oh, any time's good for coffee, but geez,
Biggest talker on the boat?
Gonna say Nico, but I won't say it.
Okay, that's good. Sprint or distance?
Well, sprint and distance have got their own techniques, they've got their own genre, so it doesn't matter. I'll have a bit of distance as well as sprints.
Beers or lemonade on the Sunday after the regatta?
Oh, leave the lemonades alone, but the beers the go.
Favourite regatta around the world you've competed in?
Tahiti World Sprint Championships.
What's the one tip you would give to a new paddler to make them better?
Just learn, enjoy, do what you've got to do to make yourself happy in the boat. Doesn't matter how good everyone else is around, just make sure that you're happy.
And Langers, complete this sentence. If I wasn't paddling, I'd be?
Paddling.
Thanks, mate. That's 60
sweet.
Seconds with Dougie.
Yoo-hee!
So, Hando, it's that time of the week. Hando's hot take. But
Okay,
there's a twist.
what have you got for me? What do you mean there's a twist?
You're not doing it this week.
Whew, thank goodness I can take my hat off.
We have Meri Gibson. She is going to, so we're not calling it Hando's hot take. Hot take. We're calling it Meri's hot take.
Mary's hot take, Hando's handout.
So you can sit down, relax, and
I'll chill out and take a
give
paddle.
Meri her hot take, and we will see how we go.
Okay, Meri Gibson.
Welcome, Meri.
Thank you.
So Meri's hot take today, it is a Senior D question. There's been a lot of discussion globally around breast cancer paddlers moving into the Senior D category, with some regions like Canada, the US and Europe already competing in that grade, while others are still working through it. With over 40,000 active members globally, it's a conversation that's only going to become more relevant as the community continues to grow and mature. From your perspective, how do we balance creating more opportunities for paddlers as they age with the practical challenges of regatta schedules, volunteers and event capacity?
Oh, gosh, throw me a hot potato, why don't you? Look, I think that we need to provide space for people. There is no doubt, and there's empirical data to prove that as you age, your muscle mass diminishes, your bone density diminishes, so you cannot paddle in a premier division at 70 years old.
Yep.
You know, you think you can, you think you're invincible and that you should be, but the reality is that the physics and the physicality of your body changes. So I think and the other aspect that you need to remember is that a lot of our paddlers are retired and they're upwardly mobile, and they have the capacity to attend events, whereas our younger paddlers, not so much. I'm not saying discount them for 1 second, the younger paddlers, but I'm saying if this is a sport for life, which I believe it is, and when people ask me about the age category, I say you can paddle from 12 to 112. So I think that you need to be cognizant of that. I know there's not a lot of uptake in certain areas and certain countries, and a lot of people don't think this should happen for various reasons, but are they their own selfish reasons?
Yeah, gotcha.
Are they really about the good of the sport? Are they really about being inclusive and having a sport for all? And in terms of the pressure, I think you just need to be more reflective on what you're asking for. For instance, in Australia, I noticed and was very surprised to see that the breast cancer teams don't paddle in the 2K races, and they only paddle in small boat. In New Zealand, we paddle everything. We've been doing it since 2009. at the international events, at the World Championships, we paddle in the 2K. We paddle in big boats. We don't
love the
paddle in
standard
small boats. You know, and the standard boat is really where the racing should be. So I'm an advocate for right across the spectrum. And people can love me or hate me for that. I don't mind. But IBCPC does support the inclusion of that category.
Well, Hando, that's why we call it Meri's Hot Take.
Yes.
Thank you, Meri. That was
Meri.
beautifully answered, and we'll love you no matter what.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Meri, it's been fantastic from the perspective of breast cancer paddlers, IDBF. You travel the world. You're part of the Paddles Ready team. There was one thing, we've got a guest coming up, Mr. Luau from Champion. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about Champion. You're there, and the Ice Dragons.
Oh, okay. Sure. So I've known Champion probably my whole paddling career, shall we say, coming up 20 years. And because that's the brand that we've always had in New Zealand, along with some of the swift, smaller boats. So I know the brand very well, have worked with Champion for probably the last 10 or 15 years, importing the boats into New Zealand on their behalf and on behalf of the New Zealand teams. So I know the brand. It's a very good brand. I'm perfectly cognizant with that. He is an entrepreneur. I was very fortunate to be invited to Shilin Hot in Outer Mongolia or Inner Mongolia,
With Mr.
Luo. Earlier this year in end of January, beginning of February. I always say I was blown away. I don't like the cold. I hesitated and said I'm not coming because it's cold. It was minus 24 degrees overnight. That's Celsius. And it got up to a high of minus 10 during the day. So it's very cold, but the sky is blue. The enthusiasm is phenomenal. The event is like on steroids.
On ice.
On ice. On steroids on ice. It's fabulous. And, I just applaud what they're doing. It's fantastic. And I say to people, if you genuinely love dragon boating, there are two things you should do.
Right.
You should go to China in the summer and watch dragon boating in the summer or compete, and you should go to ice dragon boating in the winter and either watch or compete, because it just is dragon boating to a T. So that's
we might
me.
have to have a chat to our sponsors and see if we can go.
I know. Well, Meri Gibson, thank you very much. Closing statement. We loved having you on Paddles Ready. I hope you loved it, and we hope to hear you again soon.
Well,
look, I think it's an important voice that speaks from the paddler's heart, because we can hear about policy and everything from the higher level, but you have to start at the bottom
100%.
and work
Those
your way
grassroots.
up at grassroots. And I really hope that's the voice you continue to hear. Yes, I sit on these other higher levels, but at heart, I'm a paddler.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And now a coach, and I love it. I love it.
Well, Meri, we're all going to do it at the same time. We're all going to say Paddles Ready. I'm Hando.
I'm Dougie.
This
I'm
is
Meri.
Paddles Ready.
Thank you.
Hando, that's another one in the bag. As I said last week, out to the Aussies. It's we're still here. How good?
Wow, 1, 2, 3. That's our third episode.
How's the subscriptions going though?
Pretty good.
Out of control.
Pretty good. Text messages, everything's been good, but we're learning every day, and the comments have been fantastic. So thank you to everyone out there. Keep them coming in.
Well, hopefully we're getting better after 3.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
We'll probably go to 4.
No. Well, let's get stuck into.
We'll
start doing the content for next week. But
And keep those questions coming in. Look, I'm Hando.
I'm Dougie.
And we are
Paddles Ready.
This podcast is brought to you by PodPro Australia.